Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. 2018 marks the 40th anniversary of the legalization of home brewing beer. It's a key moment in what would later become the craft beer movement. Seth Cook at Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings.
It probably should be noted it has been legal nationwide for 40 years, but not every state adopted that. So we talk about the 40th anniversary. Some of the states in the South aren't nearly as early adopters as the rest of the nation. But maybe we'll talk about home brewing, just like legally what that means. So what they allowed is they allow individuals or households to make malt beverage for your own consumption. I believe it's up to 200 gallons a year per household. It did allow the garage enthusiasts to start making their own ales.
Jimmy Carter signed the law October 14th, 1978. In December of that very year, the American Homebrewers Association was formed. Each state could then decide on their own whether or not to allow homebrewing. Mississippi and Alabama became the last states to come around in 2013.
It's important to note that is for your own private consumption. It can't be consumed in a retail space. It can't be sold to a retail space. It can't be sold to a bar. You certainly can't sell it to your friends or,
you can give it away.
You can give it away. It is made for a private use. That's one of the large stipulations on homebrewing, and that's what it's for.
U.S. Senate recently passed a resolution honoring the 40th anniversary of the American Homebrewers Association. The resolution makes note of the significance of homebrewing to the craft beer movement. That's because virtually the entire first generation of craft brewers and most of the American craft brewers working today started as home brewers.
Brewers overseas, in Germany and in England and some of these other places that have these real strong brewing cultures, they go through an apprenticeship, and it's a professional, and I've attended some coursework that kind of allowed us to do some of that, but it's not a requirement in the United States. It's not. There isn't a journeyman or apprenticeship or a master's program in brewing. That is because a lot of the brewers come from the homebrew culture.
It's safe to say the craft beer movement would not exist as we know it if homebrewing had stayed illegal.
A lot of the commercial brewers, myself included, that have running and operating breweries now, really started experimenting at home. Legally. And that's obviously, like we said, 40 years ago when that switch was turned on to make this legal, you have an entire industry that has erupted out of just some foresight of just saying, let's allow some people to start this at home. Craft brewing not only brought new brewers and new ideas and thoughts into the brewing marketplace, but it brought new concepts, new styles. It helped revitalize some styles. It brought new flavors. It brought new techniques. And there's a lot of things that the large industrial brewers most likely would not have done or pursued.
The spirit of experimentation and willingness to try just about anything that typifies home brewing carried over into craft beer. More Beer Untapped with Perry Miller is on the way. Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the legalization of home brewing in America. We've been talking about how that move spurred the craft beer movement as home brewers began to open their own brew pubs and small breweries. The willingness to experiment they carried over into those breweries has led to the current explosion of beer styles and techniques. Seth Cook at Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings says there is a bit of a double-edged sword at work.
Although there's a lot of experimentation and a lot of innovation, you can at times run into the problem that there is a divergence of quality. So the quality may not be the same, and maybe that's the price that you have to pay. To be innovative, to change, to be able to try new things, you have to be willing to fail. It's easy to admit that the brewers in America are some of the most innovative in the world, but it can't be denied that there has been some bumps and bruises along the way. It makes for a different brewing culture, makes for a different brewing atmosphere, and again, this is all based on the homebrewers.
However, the two roads are now starting to merge.
And just as the Americans begin to really kind of tune in to things that can be monitored, and that's not to say that the American brewers are careless in any way. It's just because they've repledged themselves to the quality aspect. The Germans have begun to begun to do things that you wouldn't have thought 20 years ago German brewers would do or even begin to think about. And it's been a slow pull in both directions. But I think ultimately what's going to happen is that we're going to get more creative beers and we're going to get better beers. And that is the flight path that we're on, is that we're going to start seeing some really cool, big, well-known breweries begin to do some of the innovative things that were piloted by these small brewers. And you're going to see small breweries that are still piloting innovation that will continue to improve the beers that they're putting out.
One of the oldest breweries in the world, Germany's Weihenstephan, recently released a very hoppy wheat beer that they made in collaboration with craft brewer Sierra Nevada. All right, fun stuff coming up at Wooden Legs, including this Saturday, which is Crazy Day in Brookings.
We're going to throw together some root beer floats. Why not? This is a great celebration. Come on down, try some of the root beer floats. I know all the other businesses in town have specials and things they don't normally do during the year. Come down and try, enjoy, shop. Come see us. We're at the end of July here, and then we've got all kinds of stuff coming up in the next couple weeks. But Crazy Days is on the 28th.
Finally today, let's head to Brookings Liquor Store with beer guide Drew Eklund, who highlights a brewery out of Normal, Illinois that's new to South Dakota.
Called Distill. Distill specializes in sour beer, and we have 3 of their best in our lineup. All 3 of the 4-packs are $9.99.
And they're cans.
And they're cans. Yeah. Cool. Take them camping with you or whatever outside. First from Distill, we have Here Goes Nothing. This is a complex and flavorful representation of the style, while still retaining the Goes' trademark drinkability. Flavors of lemon and lime with sea salt and coriander. A great summer sour beer. Next up is their Blueberry Goes. It's a variant of the original. The blueberry version is even more complex than the original, and probably my favorite of the 3. The most flavorful Goes I've probably ever had. More of a sipper, I would say, and has kind of a dry wine-like finish to it. Highly recommend. Lastly, from Distill is their Wild Sour Flanders Red. Another dry wine-like sour with flavors of tart cherries, oak, and vinegar. This is an aggressive sour. It'll punch you in the tongue. It's really intense. So if you're into that, go for it. If not, you've been warned.
That's it for this week's show. Until next time, drink local and drink responsibly. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes. And if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.